Fantastic. Well, I think at this point we can really get started. So great to see everyone joining. It's filling up. I think we'll wait another couple of minutes.
And while we're waiting on everybody, anybody who's in the attending, if you could give us a shout out, let us know where you're at, a little bit about your shop, so we can help make sure this is a good fit for you.
100%, definitely. Where are you dialing in from? Fantastic. I think let's wait one more minute and see a few more people joining, and then we'll get started.
Maybe if we start with some introductions while some more people join. I'll start. My name is Toby. Really excited to be here. I am a product owner at AMFG. So this is a webinar on all of our features, but mainly focusing on our Sentinel AI and our new release, which is release 57. So my role here is to develop the new features and to be in charge of the release of them. So it's my main job in this webinar, not only to show you the demo, to show you what we brought new coming soon. So really excited for those features.
Definitely, I'll go second. Jesse, if you want to go third, maybe to introduce myself. I'm Henry. I'm head of machine shops here at AMFG. I've been with the company now for just over 2 years. I work with the team here, obviously in London, as well as our team in the US, to help bring shops on board and see the value from AMFG's quoting and estimating tool. One of whom is very kindly joined our panel today, I should say. Jesse, I don't know you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, everybody. My name's Jesse Casto. I've got a CNC machine shop over in Dallas, Texas called Better CNC. And we've been a very active user of AMFG since I believe last August is when we started onboarding. But we're a full-fledged user. We've got the online platform. If anybody wants to see how the instant quoting looks like, but yeah, no, we're pretty aggressive in leveraging AMFG to help grow our company, and it's been working phenomenally well so far this year.
Definitely plug the portal, Jesse. Send all these viewers over there. Love it. Fantastic. Yeah. So Jesse's feels like longer than last August actually, Jesse. But you've been a massive help for us as we've been developing the product. Lots of your feedback has been fantastic, and I think a key part of it is really in some of the features that we're going to proudly show everyone today. So really exciting to see that come into reality.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I think let's get started, Toby. I can see the participant number going up pretty rapidly. So let's get started with a bit of a plan for today. So we've already done introductions. We're going to go on to a bit of an introduction to AMFG for those of you who aren't necessarily familiar with who we are and really what we do. Obviously, a very light introduction, and then we'll get into the key release themes and then start showing you some of the really exciting updates that we've got coming this Saturday. Toby, could you just move to the next slide? Fantastic. So a bit of an introduction to AMFG. We're mostly based here in London. This is one of our HQs. We've also got our global HQ in Austin, Texas as AMFG Corp. We've got about 25 to 30 people here in our London office, as well as a team over in the US and also in Eastern Europe for our support and development teams. And we're now a world leader in providing workflow automation and production management software for different manufacturing processes, mostly around additive and subtractive manufacturing. And we really work now with quite a global customer base, stretching from global multinational OEMs like Decathlon, Volvo, L'Oreal, and a number of other big names, as well as hundreds of machine shops and job shops like Jesse at Better CNC. So a bit of a mission here. This is from our CEO, Kayvan Karimi. AMFG's mission statement, I don't want to read this out. Everyone can read this while obviously you're on the call. Our real mission here is to help low volume, high mix manufacturers to be able to quote quicker, more accurately, and more reliably, as well as better managing and streamlining their production and production planning processes. So that really stretches across a number of different industries, not just custom part manufacturing for subcontractors, for job shops, but also consumer goods, industrial goods, engineering, aerospace, defense, medical, and a whole host of other industries. And then key themes to talk about today. So this is what we're really, really excited to present. Toby and his team have been putting a huge amount of work into this over the last, what would you say, Toby, 6 months now, to put this update together. And really it fits into 4 key new product themes. Firstly, the launch of our new AI model, Sentinel, which is a very, very exciting new update. And it's basically enabling AI extraction of 2D drawings. So we're taking certain useful data points for you to then be able to use during your quoting process. Secondly, it's a more general update to quoting speed and accuracy for precision CNC machine parts. So we've got lots of new improved feature detection across a number of different new machinable features and feature types, as well as our new global material database, which has a huge record of hardnesses and machinabilities for better cycle time calculations. Thirdly, we've got auto service suggestion, which is an update I'm really personally excited about. This allows AMFG to auto suggest a machining process based on a part's geometries. So we're looking at that part, working out the geometries, and then assigning milling, turning, 3-axis milling, 5-axis milling based on that part. And then finally, AMFG Connect, which is our machine integration and slicing tool, which is helping AMFG users both on the additive and subtractive side of the AMFG platform connect with third-party software systems. And it's a program that we're looking to expand quite dramatically over the next 12 months.
Yeah, if I just talk a little bit more generally, we do at AMFG 3 to 4 releases in a year. This one being the second of 2025, and we really have one key theme per release. And if you go back to the last slide where we said our mission is to enable faster and accurate quoting for small, high complexity shops, with this release, we really have built a number of features for CNC shops. So for additive quoting, we started that journey maybe 5 to 10 years ago, and we're quite solid in that space. These features we're releasing here are really going to plug the gaps on the CNC side. So one, with our Sentinel AI, we're able to extract much more information than just the 3D file. Similarly, with improved feature detection, all of this is giving us more data on the 2 files that you upload into AMFG, so that our pricing scripts have more data to work with and can be more accurate. And then thirdly, with auto service suggestion and materials, where we're almost lowering the barrier at quoting so that someone who's maybe a more junior estimator can still quote effectively using AMFG. So the key for R57 is rounding off kind of the CNC quoting package. Not that there won't be more improvements in the future. And then as we look to our next releases, so R58 scheduled almost for the end of the year, we look more to production, and that's really what AMFG Connect and integrating with slicing and build preparation software is preparing for. So we have kind of 3 key themes on finishing off our quoting package, and then 1 theme on the start of our next big package. So really exciting new features here. And I guess that leads quite nicely into the first one and maybe the main story point of this release 57. So we are releasing, as Henry said, our own AI extraction model for PDF data named Sentinel. So when we started CNC quoting, it's all about how much data we can get from files. And we started with 3D files with STLs, trying to extract the features, so holes, pockets, islands, through holes, all those 3-dimensional features from the file. But we realized when we started this journey, we were limited in that information. Unless there's, say, PMI data, we're missing critical dimensions in tolerance, in surface roughness, in threaded holes. That's all going to add on cycle time and therefore going to add on cost. So moving on from our 3D data extraction, we're extracting data from the 2D drawing directly using our model, and we're automatically adding that into our pricing scripts, all with the aim of quicker and with faster quoting. So more specifically, you can upload your PDF alongside your 3D model in AMFG and extract material type, extract general tolerance, dimensional tolerances, surface roughness, and threaded holes. And you can use this instantly in your quote.
And maybe just to jump into here, Toby, I think you can probably follow up on this. I think really this is a big first leap, or a big first step, I should say, in our 2D data extraction journey. Setting this up has taken a long time. It's put a lot of resources into it, a lot of development time to building Sentinel and actually launching it. But I think now we've actually got it live. The kind of next steps in what we can extract is really the world's oyster. So we're always now looking for the next data points that we want to extract from 2D drawings. I mean, Jesse, what would you say are your kind of top requests for the next data points?
Yeah, no, I think I mean with what's coming out with this initial launch is going to be great for quoting, just because it'll help you capture all this extra stuff. But I think, yeah, the next development should be like looking towards grabbing overall dimensions, helping confirm material sizes, because for anybody who quotes without a model, being able to grab some of those key dimensions are one of the top things you look for when you first look at the drawing. But I just love the depth that this is taking already. It's just going to be such a game changer, and how I quote, especially as we get more into aerospace, more into government type work. It'll make our quoting even faster than what it already is.
Definitely. And when you mention aerospace and defense and the kind of government contracts, I think the shops that are serving aerospace and defense, they're probably the ones that have been shouting about this and requesting PDF data extraction the most, right from when we started this journey. And I think we're responding to that pressure the most. I mean, it's kind of part of the reason why we call it Sentinel. It links to that sort of aerospace and defense community and assisting them in quoting and supporting quoting from those 2D drawings. But it's certainly it's been a long journey. I think, Toby, you can probably attest to this in developing Sentinel, but we're super excited to see the results of it now coming to the bear.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on?
Let's move on. Number two.
Again, this really well follows on. It's all about the amount of data we can extract, like I said at the start, from the model and then from the PDF to get that accurate quote. The features that we're drawing from the STL file or from the step file, whatever you upload, is really the core of how we quote. So we're improving our feature detection, and we've made it kind of more rigorous. So we're detecting almost 90 to 95% of features on the part, and we're adding new features to that list. So previously, where you had maybe just a hole and then a pocket on that, we can now detect that as counterboard and countersink, which means we can be more accurate with the tool, with the cycle time, as we know you can get one tool in there. So we've made our CAD interrogation program more sophisticated. We're counting fillets and chamfers, counterboard, countersink holes, slots, and steps. And this really rounds off kind of what we're calling the core features of the part. So after release 57, we think we have the most robust CAD interrogation system on the market. But what we're really moving to next is to detect what we're calling difficult to machine features, one of which is self-intersecting holes. So they're normal features on the part, but it's maybe an area of the model that would take a different machining strategy or a longer cycle time. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to call that out to you when you're doing a quote. One, to add on cycle time, to add on machining time for the quote. And secondly, when you take that into production as a flag on the part, that this may be difficult or even impossible to machine.
Yeah, definitely. And this is really about our goal of becoming the most sophisticated quoting and estimating tool for precision machine components on the market. I think we've come on a long way in the last 12 months. And really, this is kind of the cherry on the top with this latest feature release in terms of getting all of those generic machinable features. As Toby mentioned just there, the next step is really about taking more complex feature groups of features such as ports and dovetails, undercuts, all of which can, alongside geometric warnings, build up a much better and more accurate profile of that part. We're not trying to, and I think sometimes maybe customers or people in the industry misunderstand this. A quoting tool like AMFG is not trying to remove an estimator in any way. An estimator is critical to still doing quoting. Really, what we're trying to do is become an estimator's best friend, and Sentinel is part of that journey. We're trying to lower the skills barrier, reduce human error, allow them to be much more productive in actually getting these estimates together and then responding in a quick and efficient manner. Jesse, would you say that's helped you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was actually just about to throw it out. I'll talk a little bit more once we get into the actual demo too. So yeah, no, just for one example, so my company, we're a small shop, but we recently brought in our first additional quoter recently, and from them not knowing how the quoting software works to putting out quotes, I think was a day to get them up to speed. And nice thing with the automated part is we still make minor adjustments. It's never going to be perfect, especially with just such a broad variety of parts in this industry. But I was able to bring somebody fresh into my company, get them quoting and putting out quotes where they were priced and estimated time-wise similar to what I do, literally within a day. Just because AMFG, the automated quote, the CAD analysis gives a baseline for everything.
Fantastic.
So it makes it a lot easier to plug and play and get somebody else and carry notes and and status of everything as you go. It makes collaboration a lot easier.
Awesome, fantastic, great story. Brilliant, Jesse.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're going to replace you. Taking on estimating.
That's the plan.
Hopefully, that's the plan. Fantastic, awesome.
Okay. Next feature then. So again, new in 57. So we realized we had a gap, like I said before, in tolerancing, and specifically assigning tolerancing to features. So we realized through speaking to a lot of customers that whilst our feature detection is accurate and we can get a good cycle time, maybe the one most important thing we weren't considering was the effective tolerance on that cycle time. So obviously, if you have a tight tolerance, 0.05, 0.01, on a specific through hole, that can add on 20 minutes, 30 minutes cycle time per hole. And this was one data point that we're really not capturing in our scripts before. We can now say with a lot of pride that we're able to do that. So we can assign a tolerance or a surface roughness to a 2D feature. So we can assign it to holes, fillets, planes, pockets, whatever 3D feature you might want. You could assign the tolerance or the surface roughness, and we can automatically update our pricing scripts based on that tolerance, which really means for those highest complexity parts where tolerance is such an important factor to cycle time, you're able to quickly and easily factor that into the quote. So again, is leading back to our theme of accurate quoting and fast quoting. I think again, it leads on to a future when we move into production of we already know tolerances that are on these specific features. So when you go to machine that through hole with the tight tolerance, we can again flag that to whoever's producing it. But yeah, at this moment, we're getting as much data we can on the model, and I think tolerance was the one part we were missing. So really excited to bring this through.
I think this is probably the number one, aside from maybe PDF and PDF data extraction. It's probably the most requested feature for the CNC machining product in the last 6 months, probably even a year now. So it's really exciting to see this come to fruition. It's definitely, again, a part of our journey with Sentinel as well. Obviously, typically, as Toby mentioned, tolerancing data is not included in models. It's always on that PDF, that 2D drawing. So a kind of end goal for Sentinel is to be able to basically have synergy between a 2D drawing and the GD&T and tolerancing data on that drawing, and the 3D features and geometries that we're pulling from the CAD file. If we can pull those both together, so you're matching the tolerancing exactly from the PDF to that 3D model, I think we're going to make massive strides when it comes to accuracy.
And maybe the unsung hero, as I'm calling it, of our release. Not the most fancy or the most attractive feature, but one that brings immense value to our users is our new global database. And this has been a huge piece of development from our team. So we're really excited to bring this one forward. Just to set the scene maybe of people who've never used AMFG, we previously had roughly 400 materials in our database, and everything else, materials cost, feed rates for milling and turning, was managed through our scripts, our pricing scripts, which meant if you wanted an update, it would come via the AMFG team. So we can now say, one, we've added a new global database based on the top 3 material suppliers worldwide, of which we have 10,200 and I believe 78 materials.
Very precise, Toby. I like it.
I'm going to eat my words if that's wrong later, but it's around that number. You're able to input your cost per kilo or your cost per pound, whatever currency you're working in, into that material price, and then use that in the scripts. So you can adjust your cost, you can adjust your feed rates, you can adjust your feed rates for turning outside in our material database, in our production parameters area, which we'll show a bit later, and have that update in the script. And what it's going to allow you to do is quickly adjust to change your material cost. Quickly, if you don't like the price from AMFG, if you think our scripts are coming in a small bit too high, maybe you adjust your material feed rate or your turning feed rate in production parameters, and then you can almost put your hands up and you're good to go. So I think with people like Jesse have just hired a new estimator right now, if maybe the prices that are going out are a little too high or a little too low from Jesse's new employee, then he can come in, he can maybe adjust the feed rate, they can review it together, and then almost the pricing is then readjusted and ready to go.
Yeah, no, and this will also help for anybody impacted by the tariffs coming into play, because it makes it a lot easier for you to adjust your material pricing across the board. Because you're able to use AMFG to actually estimate your material pricing, ballpark it by weight by pound or by whatever you have in inventory. But this new update makes it a lot easier for you to update your material pricing across the board. As tariffs impact different material types and things like that, you can jump right on it and without skipping a beat, to make sure you're staying with the times.
Yeah, exactly. There's also new features like save recent materials. It's easier to filter by materials. So we've really almost completely overhauled our material database, which has been a serious amount of work for our system as materials at the core of the MES. And then just the last one. I think we've done enough talking on slides now, to be honest. It's about time to jump into a demo. But the last thing we mentioned on that R57 overview is the auto service selection. So with our new release, you're able to input your part as you normally would, and then we can scan the geometry of the part as we always do, detect those features, and then we can auto suggest CNC services to apply to that part. So maybe if it's got a lot of cylinders, we'll suggest turning. We can suggest milling, turning, drilling, whichever operations you have, automatically when you upload the part. You can obviously edit that. You can maybe change 3 for 5 axis if you prefer to run it on that. But what we're giving you here is almost a baseline recipe of how you may machine the part. Again, leads on to our accuracy in quoting and our speed in quoting. You upload a part, you upload your file, you've auto-suggested services, and then you have a price. So what we really wanted to do with this release is almost give a 2-click approach where you upload the files and AMFG does everything else for you. You have your costs and the materials, you have your services assigned automatically, you have all the data that we can extract pulled, and then it's really up to the user. If you don't like the cycle time, maybe you add a tolerance manually. If you don't like the material costs, you can go and adjust that. You can assign features to services, which will adjust the price. But we're giving you a 2-click approach to get as accurate a price as we can. And then leaving it up to the user to make those small end tweaks. Obviously, with the theme of accurate quoting, we aim to make that as limited as possible, but we realize we need to give the shops the power to edit that. So this is kind of the last stage of that.
Definitely. And to piggyback on your example earlier, Jesse, about having your new estimator join and that kind of ramp up period where they're learning, a day is pretty awesome. We obviously have the Guinness Book of Records. I think you should get that added into it as a new record for quickest learning period for an AMFG user ever. So great to hear that he's picked that up so quickly. I think this really just helps generally people that are using AMFG become accustomed to it more quickly. And certainly if they don't have as much experience with machining and handling some of these geometries and what you should then use for those geometries, we are just trying to help get to that point where they know a rough idea of what machine they should use or what service they should use based on that part. I don't know if you've got anything to add onto that. I know Toby's raring to go getting into this demo, so I don't want to take too much time. I think you're
Yeah,
on mute.
no, I'll jump in more once we get into the demo.
Okay,
Righty,
yeah,
okay.
enough talking.
Enough talking. Okay. Toby, I'm going to steal the screen and we'll get into a bit of a demo here.
As Henry knows, slides are my least favorite thing in the world. So I'm very excited to get off them and into AMFG app.
And look at this, to say I'm working in a tech firm, I'm pretty slow here. Let me know when you guys can see what I'm sharing.
All good.
Awesome, fantastic. So I thought we'd start off by giving a bit of overview with how AMFG works right now, to give you kind of a live overview of our calculation procedures, the way that we get to a geometric analysis, how we get a time and a cost result. And then Toby's going to jump in and show how we're going to improve that with the new R57 functionality. So after obviously skipping over some of the more basic parts of the AMFG system, like dashboard, where we're tracking analytics and KPIs, our email integration, where you can have your emails linked, so you can see your emails coming into your email inbox from RFQs at Better CNC or any other emails that you'd like to have integrated. We're really looking today at tickets overview, the quoting and estimating module of the AMFG system. So in here, we can see all of our part statuses. We can see as those RFQs come in, where they've come from, whether it's from a website inquiry, an instant quote portal like Jesse's, whether it's from an email, maybe you've manually created this ticket, this RFQ. We can attach priority statuses to earmark how urgent that quote may be, how quickly your customer might need a response. We can have your own ticket numbering system. We can have an activity log to track what's happening and when. And we can also actually put in place ticket statuses. And these are all customizable based on what statuses you'd like to use. Now, they can just be just to placeholder to show where that quote is in its history. Maybe it requires a external material price. Maybe you need to have a go, no-go analysis, or you've got a quote sent marker. Or maybe you actually want to link it to a workflow automation. So something like to be reviewed, maybe you have a quote review process that might send an email to a senior to come and check that quote before it's sent out to the customer. And what's great about Tickets Overview is we're really trying to work with you to build your own quoting process. So this is just one way of doing that, one way of organizing your quoting process. But Jesse, I'm sure you've got, maybe you could add your 2 cents in here of how you've optimized that and how you've maybe built some of those ticket statuses as well to help your customers.
Oh yeah, no, this is something we trying to take a big advantage of. Being a smaller shop, and customer service is extremely important for us. But AMFG gives us the ability to automate a lot of that. So whenever we're quoting, our customers are able to log in, because we do have customers that use the portal quite a bit. They can log in and see the status of the quote, see the status of the orders. We have automated email updates as we progress through production. And here pretty soon we'll probably start doing something similar with like larger quotes and just really getting into more detail. But yeah, you're able to set triggers for sending out emails. You're able to set triggers to integrate with your QuickBooks or anything like that. For a small shop or for somebody who really wants to up their customer service game, this is just a phenomenal tool that puts you on the same level as some of those billion-dollar manufacturing companies that are built online. I'm sure
some of the big boys.
A few of them, yeah. So this is very much giving that technology to individual shops, which I think is just phenomenal.
Definitely, and I think leveling the playing field is really a key element of what we're trying to achieve at AMFG. Certainly with some of the smaller shops where you're struggling to respond to RFQs as quick as the larger shops can do. You can't beat them on price, you can't beat them on lead time, you can't beat them on the quantity that you can handle. We're trying to level that playing field by offering something a bit different with the instant quote portal and how that can operate, allowing your customers to have a more convenient experience by just dragging and dropping some CAD and then getting a price, maybe even ordering that straight off their website. But it's also just about getting back to quotes quicker and getting back to quotes more informed as well. So I think that's a really good point, Jesse, in how you're trying to streamline that, obviously internally on your side. So what I've done now, I've loaded into a ticket. We've got ticket 279. 297. It's been a long day already. So we've got this ticket to take a look at. I've actually already uploaded some CAD into this ticket. I 630. It's a nice part for us to look at in the demo today. But we can upload any of the 30 different 3D CAD files, CAD formats that we are compatible with. And that's also including your SolidWorks and Autodesk native file formats as well. So you can add those in there, as well as any 2D drawings, either separately or independently of that model or alongside that model. So we can take the recognition from both of them. Now I'm going to also choose my customer. Obviously, if this was the case where it would come from an email, I'd already have that customer pre-selected, but let's say I've just done that manually. And now we can actually load into this part and start looking at taking a look at how this part looks. So as soon as I load that part in, first thing that I can see is probably these pink blobs, our geometric analysis on said parts. And we've got to repair that part as well. Now, when we hit repair, we're converting this file from one of the 30 different 3D CAD formats that I mentioned earlier to an STL file format. That then allows our CAD interrogation program to do a full geometric analysis on the part and pull out all of the different machinable features and the part analysis here in the top right. So as Toby mentioned earlier, improving and making our feature recognition more sophisticated has been a key development priority for us. And we can now develop, what is it, Toby? How many different machinable features is it that we can identify now? To put you on the spot.
I love being put on the spot. It's fine. There's 9 machinable features that are available. That includes planes, pockets, through holes, drill holes, fillets, chamfers, counterboard, countersink, and islands. I really hope that was 9 that I just said, but yeah.
I don't know about
that. Like Henry said, we pretty much reached the limit of all our machinable features that we want to pick out. All we need to do now is flag difficult to machine features, so maybe undercuts or holes that are self-intersecting to make this more robust.
Definitely. Well said, Toby. Well said. So as Toby mentioned there, we're pulling out all of those different machinable features. And we're also looking at the profile of each of those features. So things like for a through hole here, we know the radius, we know the depth, we know the area, the volume. Maybe if we take a chamfer, we know the angle and the height. So we're building up a very good geometric profile on our part. We also know the volume, the bounding box volume, surface area, which is obviously all really important as well for calculating our material price based on weight, the density of that material. And also for secondary processes based on either the weight again or the surface area of the part. Now, before we jump into actually estimating on this component, we can also have a look at our similarity analysis. And similarity analysis really is a bit like a third eye in the quoting process. So we're basically comparing this new part that we're looking at to all of our historical parts, obviously that we ran through AMFG. That's normally based on the material, the bounding box, maybe even the machinable features on that part, and spitting out a list of similar parts that you might have machined in the past. So really great for part families, and also really, really great for repeat work that you might have either forgotten about, maybe you want to forget about that repeat work, or maybe it's work where you've done it in the past, but a new estimator like Jesse's new guy doesn't necessarily know that you've done that in the past. Now, if we go into actually generating an estimate, we're going to look at production parameters on the right-hand side. And obviously with this new update, there's been some pretty big changes in what we've actually automated in this quoting workflow. But this just gives you a rough idea of how quoting might look in AMFG. So first of all, we can choose material, and we've got that new beautiful global database that Toby was very proudly talking about earlier. So I can select my material. We know the hardness and the machinability of that material. We can choose a different billet type if we want to change that based on whether we're machining here from a bar, a solid round, tube, plate, casting, and a few more. And most importantly, we can now also choose machinable features, machinable surfaces and processes. Now, obviously, as Toby mentioned, we can now suggest that ourselves if you wanted to have that automatic suggestion, or your estimator can come in, choose a service, and we're then going to create a calculation based on that. So our scripts in AMFG are now quite highly sophisticated. We've done a lot of work to them over the last couple of years. And what they're able to do is accurately ping back a cycle time, programming time, setup time, and number of setups on this part. We can then see that for this part here, there's quite a lot of features, and we've also chosen, I think, machining from a bar. We have 33 minutes as our cycle time, 546 minutes as my programming time, 210 minutes for setup, and 2 as our number of setups. Just conscious of time to quickly explain how we got to those numbers. Cycle time, we're looking at all of the different machinable features on this part. We're then looking at the material and the hardness of that material, any tolerancing or surface roughness factors that have been added in. And then we're basically auto-assigning a tool, either from AMFG's library or toolbox or your own tooling data, to match a tool to each of those machinable features. We're then calculating a material removal rate based on those factors. That then gives us our cycle time. Sorry, Jesse, I don't interrupt me.
Yeah. I was gonna say the cool thing about this is it's not just the way it comes up with the times and the way it estimates isn't just a black box where you submit a couple models, you say this is how we do it. You can actually, if you want to, or the AMFG team can show you, but you can actually dive into the brain of how this thinks. So it's not just assuming this is how you're going to run the part, but you can actually tweak it to exactly how your company, how you would quote the part and come up with your times. It's not just giving everybody the same times. This is like tuned to how you work, how you operate. So it's very highly customizable. It's not just making everybody generically the same.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you keep that in there.
And now, just to build on that, and now with our new materials that I'll continue to shout out, it's actually easier to do that than ever. Before, as Jesse said, I think Jesse's been one of kind of the forerunners of going into the scripts and editing it themselves. Obviously, everyone doesn't want to do that. So now we've made it easy to edit that information in production parameters, which I'll show you when I jump into the next app. So you can actually tweak those things without ever going into our pricing scripts.
Yeah, definitely. As Jesse's mentioning there, every single shop, and this is a key thing that we've learned for the last few years we've been doing this. Every shop is different. Everybody's got different quoting logic. Everyone's got different machines in house, and certainly every part is different. So that configurability and that flexibility is really oven baked into the platform and the way that it operates. I'm not going to go into too much detail on some more of these calculations setup where we're basing that off machinable directions, as well as obviously the service you selected and the tooling. Programming is also based on those features as well. We can then adjust things like adding in more services, secondary processes as well, whether that's deburring, anodizing, whatever you'd like to have in there. Quantity, production time might scale then the price based on how rapid the customer needs it. Obviously, you can edit those tolerancing and surface roughness requirements, including or excluding programming time. All of these different fields are configurable. And at the end of the day, we've then got our calculated cycle time, price, and price breakdown based on material and value add cost as well. We can then simply add that to our list and then create a quote straight out of the line items that we want to add in here. Obviously, you might want then add in more quantity breaks, add in 1 off, 10 off, 100 off, 500 off, whatever you wanted to do. Create a quote. Obviously, you've got all your customer information in there. You can add in manual services, adjust your due date, change from different quote templates, adjust your delivery methods, discounts. There's quite a lot of different things you can do to tailor that quote. And then you can email that by selecting submit, and it sends your own dedicated quote PDF straight to your customer. Now, on that note, I'm going to hand back over to Toby. That's where we are now, and Toby's going to show you what's coming out on Saturday.
Yeah, thanks, Emery. If you just unshare again, and then I can share my screen back. Okay. See that okay? Okay, so building on from what Henry said, I'm now in our nice next application, which has all our new features on that will go live on Saturday. So you can see largely a similar screen. We have our list of features on the left-hand side. We have a new viewer, which is showing the features in colors rather than the dots you saw. And we have some widgets that are now made collapsible by popular request. I think the real key difference, though, comes in production parameters widget, which is the heart and soul of the quoting tool. So like Henry had all of his fields that he was able to manually configure. We now have a new field of 2D drawing, of which I've added the PDF for this file. And you can see below this, I'm able to extract my general tolerance, my dimensional tolerances, my roughness and my threads. So when Henry was clicking through all this information manually, all I've done for this file is upload the 3D model, upload the PDF, select a material, and select 3-axis milling as my service. And you can see all those steps that Henry just did. I'm already at my price. So the key is we're uploading just 2 pieces of information. We're gathering everything from that. We're using these features from our 3D file, plus the information extracted from our 2D file in the scripts that we talked about earlier. And we're using that to generate this price here. So the logic is all the same. We might have added on some additional logic for tolerancing, for roughness, which we will work with our customers to build. So the logic all comes from the script. We're just adding more information faster into those scripts. So if we look actually at this PDF, which I've got up here, we can see there is a load of information of tolerances, of roughness, actually some threads on this part, all information that was previously missing from the STL file. We can't analyze this. You could manually put it in previously, but we're now able to extract it automatically and input it into our production parameters and use it in our scripts automatically. So we've added on time for these tolerances. We've made the added on time for surface roughness, and we've added on time for threads. And we've got our price down here for material cost and for 3-axis milling. And how you use the logic for tolerancing, what time you add on, what time you add on for roughness, is of course all configurable where you. Generally, we go through that in our onboarding period. We talk to our customers about, okay, how much cycle time do you view tolerances? How much cycle time do you add for surface roughness? We put that in the script automatically so that you can get a quote as fast and as accurate as possible.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out, if you could jump back to the drawing,
Yeah, sure.
is if you look over the drawing a little bit, you'll see tolerancing in different formats as well. Like you got the H7 where it's 4.012 to 4. The top left, you got plus minus 0.05. And the PDF analysis is actually, it's not just looking for a key, like it's not just looking for the plus minus symbol. It actually is able to recognize the different formats that things are written in. Which means, just to me, it's not just a generic slap AI on it, look for these phrases, but it's actually analyzing it and pulling out the different types of formats, the different types of callouts, both for threads and tolerances. And then if you scroll down to the tolerance block at the bottom, it's able to recognize that over on the left. It's also able to pick that out and pull out your generic tolerancing levels as well. So it's not just we're slapping AI on us and it's just looking for a keyword, but it's actually looking at it and pulling out key features that you can set up to affect your price to the customer so that the quote is as prepared as it could possibly be before you even dive into it to quote.
Exactly. Thanks, Jesse. I think, yeah, the key for this with us was extracting as much information to use in quoting. Where we use automated scripts for quoting, we have to run the same thing every time. So if we on one condition pull it out as plus minus 0.2, and then the next file you upload, we do 4 to 4.02, there's no way we can consistently use that in our script. So we've really tried to pull it out in a very consistent way to get instant pricing. I think the next thing to show then is our new material cost. So you can see now from Henry's viewer, we got a new view where I can search from all the materials from AMFG or just the ones that a specific shop has selected. I can view my recent materials that I use most often, and I can review full families in these folders. So I can search by my titaniums at selected grade there. You can see I've gone for a steel alloy, and I'm now going to change to a titanium. And this is automatically going to factor 1, the different cost per kg of titanium, but 2, the different feed rates of that titanium. So maybe I'll have to run my milling machine slower if I'm using this titanium material, and that'll automatically input the cycle time and the production cost, which is what we call the material cost. And if I don't like that, I can go into production parameters, which I'll show you in a minute. It's almost our data storage hub. And just update those values as they change. So key thing is I've filtered my materials by categories. I've changed some parameters, and my new materials give me a very different cost. I think next, let's look at specific tolerances.
Toby, just before you get on to that, I've noticed that we've had quite a few questions just come in. I just want to say we're going to handle questions right at the end. So we're just going to go through these new features, and then we'll go through each question one at a time, obviously time permitting. I think we've got 15 minutes left of the webinar. Any questions that we don't answer today, obviously we'll handle it as long as you've put your name on there. We'll handle it after the call as well.
I cannot believe there's only 15 minutes left.
It's so exciting. Time flies when you're having fun.
My brain goes into overdrive when I think about tolerances. Okay, so here we want to go one step further, okay? It's not enough to just extract the tolerances from the PDF. We want to assign specific tolerances maybe to holes or to drilled holes, because we'll use a different tool for that hole, or we'll use a specific machine, and we want to say that we have to run that machine slower for this hole. So what we've allowed you to do is come onto this assign features page, and you can set a tolerance or a roughness per feature or for all features. So for this example, I'm just going to set a tolerance of 0.001 upper lower limit. And obviously it can be, you can set a limit that can only be higher than a certain point, or there's plus minus. I will assign that to all through holes. So I can now see on each of my holes, I have this tolerance input. I can do the same for roughness. If I wanted to, I could assign these holes to a service. So I could say, actually, I'm going to use 3-axis for all my through holes and drilled holes by just drag and drop. And maybe for the chamfers, for the fillets, I might use 5-axis. But the key thing here is once you've assigned your tolerance to the hole, we apply, we rerun the price. You can see previously we had 733 for 3-axis milling. Because we've assigned those tolerances to those features, our scripts understand that we need to slow that machining time down to when we machine those holes, and therefore the cycle time is longer, and the cost of 3-axis milling has also gone up. So it was 730, now it's over £1,000. So the tolerance can really add on a lot of time and a lot of costs. So if you have those real high complexity parts where an accurate quote is essential, you can go through this extra step to get a more accurate price. And I think this leads on to maybe where we're going with our PDF extraction and with our tolerance assignment. Obviously, we have information from the PDF of what features these tolerances are on. We have our 3D features here. I think the next step for us to really automate all of this is to match these 2D tolerances to these 3D features and essentially automate the step that I've done here. So where I've manually come in and added a tolerance, we want to automate that step so it really is just the 3D, the 2D, and you're good to go.
Jesse, it'd be great to hear a few of your thoughts as well. Obviously, we've spoken about this quite a bit over the last 6 months about the impact of PDF support and how you're applying tolerancing. How you found that so far?
Yeah, no. Nice thing too is as you apply tolerancing, the way it affects the price, it's not. You can also just do it for let's say I believe you can do it for specific features. Like if you have a tolerance on a through hole versus on a pocket, you can apply it differently. But yeah, no, it's being able to do that. It helps you pass notes or remember things as well. If you quote something and you win the order 2 months later, you have reminders for you. It also just because one issue I used to have at another company when I did quoting, where we did a finger in the air quoting, where you look at it and you go, okay, yeah, that needs to be about 20% higher.
Classic.
Being able to add these tolerances to specific features gets rid of that variance. Because I mean, if you could look at a hole one day and say, oh, that's no problem. You look at it a couple days later after you sleep and you're like, oh, that's going to be a big pain. Being able to apply tolerances not only helps you remember at time of order, but it also just gets rid of that variance that just comes with being a human quoter. It gives it everything's at a set baseline. You're going to be the same every time for every customer. Yeah, no, I think it's a great level of stability across the board, especially for tight tolerance, aerospace parts, critical things like that. This feature I know would have already saved me some troubles on other things I've done. So we'll be diving into this and taking more advantage of it as we go.
And I think it's kind of leading into something. I get asked about this a lot. People say, "Brilliant, you're taking into account tolerances, but how are you actually taking into account tolerances?" Because it's okay as making a note of a certain through hole that's, I don't know, free foul as your tolerance note on that through hole. But what are we actually doing with that? We're trying to get to a point where we're not just applying a scaling factor, basic scaling factor to the machining time around that feature. We're actually getting to a point where we're simulating what you would actually do around a tighter tolerance feature. So slowing the cycle time right down, potentially doing choosing a new tool, potentially recommending a different machine if that's suitable for drill hole, or needing a jig bore, whatever it may be, or even actually suggesting doing another lap on that feature because of how tight the tolerance is. So it's not just applying a scaling factor, a blanket scaling factor. It's actually taking into account how you would machine around that feature.
Okay.
Yep, that's
Sorry, Jesse, you continue.
you're gonna. I was just gonna say, and it's still fully customizable to however you want to approach it. It's not
Definitely.
just a generic. Everybody gets this solution. It can be tweaked and adjusted to your shop, to your facility.
That's almost a perfect segue into how you adjust these things, where it's not scripted. I think the next thing I was going to show was our data hub. So this material, titanium, it has information stored with it. It has a material cost. It has a milling feed rate. It has a turning feed rate stored with it. So if you don't like maybe the cycle time or the cost, we can come into our production parameters page. And this is where we're storing all the data on machines, on materials, on your services. So if I want to adjust my feed rate or my cost, I can come in here. I can click on the material, and you see I have this 6000 series aluminium. I can maybe adjust my cost per kilo, can adjust my milling feed rate or my turning feed rate, and any custom parameters that you want really. Say hardness is a big factor, maybe the material specs change slightly. You can just adjust that here, save that part, and then you don't need to do anything else to our scripts. The next time you go on a quote and you use this material, we'll use this £3.50 and these factors here. I think this can be used for anyone using our scripts. So same if you have additive materials, you can maybe adjust the infill rate. You could adjust the layer height of that material, and again the cost. And automatically use that in the workers. So this is where you're going to store all your information and materials and machines as well. And then it's just one place to store all data, to input all data, and then when you're in that ticket details page that we showed many times, you're really quoting. Your whole focus is on fast and accurate quotes.
And I think one of the other most requested features that we're having around material and how we handle materials isn't just about pricing and how we're taking into account cycle times as a result of how hard the material is. It's also about having a bit of a live view of price and availability. So one thing that we're working on right now, at least making those first steps towards, is actually setting up integrations or scanning of material catalogs, of some of the big material catalogs out there in the US and also in Europe, but we're planning on expanding that to APAC as well in the future. And this will really give you the ability to see, based on these big material catalogs, where you can get that material from, what the availability is, and also what sort of price you can get that material on. So often, I was hearing it earlier today on a site visit, so often you're just not able, or you don't realize you're not able to get a certain blank or billet type based on that material selection. And you end up then quoting with it on a weight cost or a size that isn't actually relevant to what you can actually source on the market. I don't know whether, Jesse, you've had this challenge a few times.
Oh yeah, no, it's come up more and more for us as we get, especially with tariffs. We can't just assume price anymore at the moment. But also as we get quotes and estimates with more exotic materials, things like that, being able to tie into a catalog of a materials distributor will be super helpful in just automating and speeding it up. Because usually at this point, getting material pricing is the slowest part of the puzzle, but just because we have to wait and go back and forth, particularly on larger quotes, larger estimates, or exotic things. But yeah, with the integration and tie-ins to material suppliers will help alleviate that. and make it to where we can quote production a lot faster. We'll be able to get faster pricing for exotics, things like that. So definitely that's the last part that'll speed up our whole process, even for bigger orders.
It's coming. It's coming. It's on the agenda. David and his team are working really hard on not just this, but a whole plethora of different updates over the course of the next 12 months and beyond. Really. I also wanted to. I know it's probably not on our plan, Toby, but talk a bit about the 3D viewer, the new 3D viewer. Jesse, I know you've been using this for the last couple of months. How are you finding some of the views? I love the X-ray view for looking at internal geometries and really getting a better idea of that. And then some of the kind of manipulation tools that you've got on there as well, like measuring and changing orientation.
No, having that's one of my favorite things is just have this layout, being able to have everything that you need to see when you quote on the same screen. And particularly like this is what you're looking at now is a good example. When you're looking at X-ray view or section views, it helps you see, let's say, cross holes, odd angles, things like that. You can make it stick out a lot more. I've had a couple parts where there's very subtle undercuts, or just enough to make a part complex in a hurry. Being able to have this view instead of having to upload it into my CAM software and look at everything in detail there, I can just look at it all here, which saves quite a bit of headache.
Definitely. And this is why we need to be screaming, shouting at our buyers as much as we love them. They are our customers. We need to be screaming and shouting at them. Send over 3D models, especially for milled components for the more complex stuff. If you don't have a 3D model alongside that 2D drawing, you're just unable to understand the geometries, especially internal geometries on a PDF. At least in our experience, Jesse, I don't know whether you've seen the same thing for some of your customers.
Oh yeah, and even the online quoting portal, even my business to business customers will jump on there to look at the parts real quick.
Nice.
Get themselves a ballpark pricing, see if there's any issues that crop up. Just to get an idea before they place an order with us at a later time. It helps them going through their prototype phase, set budget lines, stuff like that before they order from you.
Brilliant. I'm just conscious of time. We've only got a few minutes left of this webinar. It's gone pretty quickly. Definitely surprised. Maybe we like the sound of our own voices too much, guys. I'm not sure. But here we are at the end. I can see that we've had a few questions that have come in throughout the webinar. For those of you that have done it with your names on there, we'll make sure to, I think you put your email in when you sign up for this webinar. So either myself, Toby, or someone from my team will be in touch to answer your question. I think maybe just to take the top one that we've got here, does the calculated cost include the development cost uncertainty? Where do you guys take into account potential defects and reworks? That's kind of first question, and then we've got another question as well. So this is really taken into account during the onboarding process. Questioner. So as Jesse mentioned, AMFG is a super configurable system. We do try and match your costing logic as closely as possible. So we've seen scrap rates and failure rates taken into effect either as a percentage of cost included in that quote, or maybe even a setup. So in the case where you want to use one of, say you've got 20 off, but you want to quote for 21 off, basically adding always an extra one as standard to take that into account, that failing. We've done that quite a few times as well. It's really based on how you want to build that logic into your costing strategy. Yeah, and then, sorry, go on, Jesse.
I was just gonna say, for one example, I've got mine set up to where my setup times, it estimates the number of tools, it estimates the number of setups, applies the time to that, and then it takes the cycle time that it's estimating, doubles it, and adds that to my setup time for nice. Simulating walking through the first piece. So you can really tweak it and adjust it, because that's particularly with how people quote that type of work, quote their setup pieces. Everybody does that part of it a little bit differently. So you can really just lean into it and have it work exactly how you want, however you want. If it's got too many features, too many tools, you can have it add a little bit more buffer to it. You can count that the first part in your setup time, however you want to break it down.
Definitely. And I think the fact that we're basing so much of our cycle time analysis based on tools, it does give us a lot more flexibility in the fact that we can then take into account, obviously, your tooling, if you wanted to have that in there, but also the AMFG generic tooling, take into account tool usage, cost of tooling, the impacts of special tooling, and adding that into the cost as well if you think that's required. We're really trying to make that, like I said, as configurable as possible. And then the other question that I think, well, we've got time to go over here, can a safety buffer be added for the overall project? Definitely, you can apply that either as a margin or apply it just to all parts in general, or quotes that you're doing. You can add on a percentage buffer to the costing. Jesse, I don't know, do you have something similar to that in your costing logic?
Yeah, no, we have, let's say, just generic markups on things. And I've started using the margin box as well recently, where if we get certain things, we can force it up, force it down. But yeah, no, there's all kinds of ways you can integrate that. I think with the new tables, I'm going to dive in a little bit further and see if, let's say, change some of my rates in general for harder metals. Not just because you're cutting it slower, but also because there's fewer people quoting it, I can have a higher margin. So I'm going to start applying that as well with these new tables.
And we've seen all sorts as well when it comes to margin and costing strategy. Everyone seems to have a different approach, which is good. Otherwise, everyone would be quoting the same price, as we've spoken about a few times. We've seen margin applied obviously to material. We've seen it just applied on general job level, applied to secondary processes, whether they're in-house or external. We've seen it applied on different machines, how you apply margin for those different machines based on how old, running costs. I've seen energy costs be taken into account. You can almost have coffee breaks in there as well if you want. It really is quite configurable.
There's also, you're also with your customers, you're able to set customer groups, or for individual customers, you could also adjust your margins or your shop rates at that level as well. Because we work with a very broad spectrum of customers, where we've done parts for NASA, for the government, but we've also done walk-ins where we're fixing a part for an antique clock. So you could actually even customize it to where my business-to-business customers will get a little bit higher rate because there's more administrative costs, relationship building there. And then my walk-ins and my individuals, where I honestly don't expect them to come back with other work. A lot of times I'll give them a little bit lower rate just to help them out, play our part for the community. So you can even at every level, any way you want to, you can have your margin adjusted, a buffer rate added in, wherever, anywhere.
Definitely. And I think, look, we do have other questions that I can see have come in over the last 10 minutes, especially. We will get back to you, I promise. The team will be in touch after this webinar. I think it's actually a really nice question to end it on, because it fits in quite nicely to our next webinar topic, which will be being organized by our marketing team for September/October, I believe, in the next few months, which will be on optimizing your quoting logic and how you can do that, not just using AMFG, but using quoting software in general. So expect to see lots of posts, some exciting opinion pieces, some thought leadership pieces, as well as another webinar. Jesse, I don't know whether we'll have the honor of you joining us again. We'll have to see if we can book you in. I know you're a busy guy, so we'll speak to you about that as well in the future.
That'll work.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you all, everyone that's been in this webinar, for joining us today. We are super excited about these new updates. You'll see more about this on social media, and for all of our active customers that are using AMFG, this will all go live on Saturday. So by Monday morning, you can have your coffee and start seeing these features in effect. Guys, anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
No. Yeah, I just think if you look at this whole system with this left sidebar, we've been in one page almost the whole demo, the whole webinar. So there is a lot more functionality AMFG can offer, like Jesse alluded, customers, production. But we're really focused on quoting this release. So if you do want to know about any of the other features, please contact us via LinkedIn or via email, and we can give you a full demo of everything AMFG can offer. So yeah, like Henry said, thanks a lot. We're really excited to bring you these new updates. If there's any existing customers on the call, thank you. We look forward to sharing this on the 12th if you're on our global live environment. And if you're on US GovCloud, it'll be 2 weeks after that, just to be clear.
Very clear, Toby. I like it.
Just don't want any sales misconception.
No, I'm glad. Thanks for having me tag along. No, it's AMFG has been a massive tool at my shop, and I'm just a big fan of getting it out there, just because it's bringing some big company technology to individual shops, which I think is just a massive step for the industry at large. Something that's been lacking for a couple decades now. So I think this is a great effort. I'm glad to have it in my shop, and hopefully other people can take advantage of it too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesse. I really like that way of putting it. Really nice way to end things. Thank you for joining us today. It's an honor as always, and for your help as well since you've joined the AMFG team. You've already got the background as well.
Cool.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys. Speak soon.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining today. Talk to y'all next time.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.